Everyone, we are going to go ahead and get started. Thank you all so much for starting your day with us. My name is Tori Prokop. I'm with the Center for HumanKindness here at the Columbus Foundation, alongside my colleague Kate. And we're, again, just so thankful that you all would start your day with us, that you're here to learn a bit more about what hosting a big table conversation looks like. Hopefully we'll get all your questions answered and send you off excited for October 11th. So just a quick history. So the idea of the big table started in the 1990s and 2000s. The Chicago Community Trust hosted a series of dinners to bring together residents of all different backgrounds to talk about race relations in the community. And then in 2014, that officially became their On the Table. And then since then, about 30 communities have replicated this concept of bringing people together to talk about issues that matter. And so then in 2016, the Columbus Foundation introduced the Big Table here in Columbus, and we've been doing it every year since, with the exception of COVID year. So now I'm going to bring up Kate Oliphant, who is going to share a bit more about the Big Table.
Thank you, Tori. Tori and I work for an initiative called the Center for HumanKindness at the Columbus Foundation. It focuses on the importance of social connection and honoring the humanity of one another. We believe the way we interact and show up for one another matters, and invest in programs that advocate for empathy building, social connection, volunteerism, and things like that. There's a growing body of research that informs our grant making and our community engagement activities, including the Big Table. One of the things that does that right here is a public health advisory from our nation's top doctor, the Surgeon General, that came out in May. It was titled Our Epidemic of Loneliness and Isolation, and it is a literature review about 200 studies and goes through and talks about really the importance, or I guess the poor ways our health is affected by isolation. Things like year over year since the 70s, people have reported increased loneliness, and that there's real health impacts for loneliness. And then he lays out a national strategy, a framework for increasing social connection. And there's 6 pillars in this national strategy. And 2 of the pillars relate directly to the Big Table, including strengthen social infrastructure in local communities and building a culture of connection. Another organization that informs our work is called Millions of Conversations, and they developed a guide to deeper listening and better understanding. I love one of their calls of action here. It's time to look with conviction toward a shared future. If you are one of the countless Americans who want to move together past polarization, beyond the divisive headlines, and demand nuance, compassion, and our undeniable humanity, please join us. So we'll send out this guide for you after this presentation if you want to take a closer look. And finally, there are a number of other things. Dr. Zaki at Stanford has a lot of great work in his empathy lab that informs our work. And here in Ohio State, they have the psychology department doing some really great research around kindness. And then finally here, Tori and I read Start With Hello this summer. We had a neighborliness initiative, and wanted to read a quote from that to you. As our culture continues to move at the speed of technology, it becomes more urgent than ever to consciously slow down and relearn how to listen. The strength of our bonds depend on it. Finding our way from passive hearing to active listening is the name of the game. Finding mutual understanding with the people near us from all walks of life requires the lost art of listening. And that's one of the things we really encourage with the Big Table, both connecting with people you don't know, people who are different from you, and really listening. So the Big Table, if you are not familiar with it, it's a day and 100 of conversations throughout the city. Anyone can host. While the Columbus Foundation provides a host guidebook, suggestions, and infrastructure, it is owned by the community. Volunteer hosts invite their networks, and the city comes alive with chatter and a buzz about positive momentum for the community. So anyone can host, an individual, an organization. The topics vary by group. We do give some conversation prompt suggestions if they're helpful to you. But if you are concerned about any community topic or it relates to your mission, if you have a nonprofit or maybe there's a neighborhood topic that's important to you, it's your big table and you set the topic. There is no predetermined agenda like we just talked about, and we're here today to talk about hosting, but we also have a network of publicly available tables. And this is for a few reasons. One, we know not everyone would be comfortable hosting. And if you are comfortable hosting, you'll invite your network, and those could be open calls, but not everyone might get an invitation to participate. So we have this network. The backbone of the network is the Columbus Metropolitan Libraries. All 23 host a conversation, so many different neighborhoods throughout the city. We have several of the YMCAs. BESA every year has one at land grant in the evening, or at least the last few years it's been at land grant. So there's 40-some tables that anyone can register for. So that's the publicly available network. All right, so when you go to host registration, these are the things that are on the list that you are agreeing to. The first one is identifying and securing a location and a time for your big table. You know, this is totally up to you. It could be your home, it could be a park, it could be a restaurant, whatever you think is best for your conversation and best for your attendees. Next, go ahead and register. Let us know that you're going to do it. It's not required, but if you let us know, you'll get emails from us, and you'll also get an announcement when the supplies are ready to be picked up for your conversation. Next, select a community topic. We already talked a little bit about this. I wanted to share a few of the topics that have been submitted already this year. Resilience and overcoming trauma, revitalizing adult education, Intel, senior housing, faith and mental health, environmental issues facing Central Ohio, and loneliness and connection, just to name a few of what folks are planning. Also this year, new, and this was kind of inspired by BESA's Big Table last year, we put together a conversation prompt card deck with 45 prompts. You can look at them ahead, you could choose just a few. You don't have to use it at all, but we got some feedback that some hosts wanted a little bit more structure or more ideas for their big table. So that will be in the conversation supplies for you to use as you wish. If you don't want to use it for that, you could use it for a dinner party or a gathering, you know, weeks after the big table. All right, next is recruit 6 to 10 people and coordinate your RSVPs. So the research says you want to keep these conversations small so that everyone's voice can be heard and everyone has an opportunity to share. But we see people do this a number of different ways, right? One conversation, 5 people or 6 people. We also see situations like we have right here where we have a room full of tables of smaller conversations happening simultaneously. If that's the case, usually there's like a table captain or a facilitator at each table. And then there's a third model we've seen too, and that's when there's like an MC, right? Like someone gets up, sort of talks a little bit about the prompt, maybe gives the prompt, and then each table discusses individually, but it's kind of led together. So those are 3 different options we've seen, but maybe you have another way you'd like to try it. We do ask, if you're hosting your own, that you coordinate your own RSVPs. It does not appear in the publicly available tables when you register to be a host. You're volunteering to independently host your own big table. And then you serve as your group's facilitator. The Host Guidebook has some tips and suggestions for that to make sure all voices are heard. And then at the end, we ask participants to take a brief survey. And that survey informs a summary we put together of the event. And we do other things with it too, but you can see here some of the things we learned in 2022. Some of these quotes at the bottom: when there are not conversations, there are assumptions. There are a lot of these sort of like tidbits that we hear that are affirming about the big table. And over here you can see folks reported out on the topics that they talked about last year. And there were many more, but there were at least a few that mentioned these. On the Big Table webpage, there is a link to the Host Guidebook. The Host Guidebook is available in 4 languages, and you can see here the different topics to provide additional support or ideas for your big table. Also wanted to point out these two photos. This is an example of Columbus City Schools. They had one table, I think it's about 10 kids. And this is an example here on the Columbus Commons stage of multiple tables, but each conversation was independent and different topics. After you register to be a host, you get a link to the Big Table Toolkit. And this toolkit has all of these various resources available to you if you wish to use them. Includes web graphics, a promotional flyer if you wanted to fill in the information and put it on a community bulletin board or in mailboxes or in a break room. So other ways than like one-on-one invitations. And then the conversation prompts are in there too, and a few other things. When the Big Table conversation supplies are ready, if you've registered your conversation, you'll get a notification. These are the host supplies for last year, and you have a few of them on your table there, a pad of paper for every participant, a pen, a sticker, name tags. So we assemble all of those and have them available at the foundation about a week and a half before the Big Table. My first question is for you, Donte. How did you first get involved with the Big Table, and why do you come back year after year?
How y'all doing? It's good to see y'all. I see some familiar faces. Thank you for being present. For me, I was introduced to the Big Table through a mentor of mine that had asked me to come to a conversation. And it was the first time I sat in a circle with people that were in the political arena, someone that was a police officer, someone that worked with children, someone that had came back from being in prison. And it was the first time I saw that type of group of people speak to one another. And after that experience happened, I thought to myself, that's pretty cool, and I want to do that myself. So I had tapped into the Columbus Foundation and shared that I wanted to do conversations. Dan Sharp, who works here, he had told me, well, Donte, just let me know what you want to do and we can collaborate. So we started a collaborative effort where he dug into his network and I tapped into my community, and we split the conversations half and half. And that was a opportunity to relive that experience. And after that, I just caught the bug, and now I can't stop hosting conversations. But I've always been a conversationalist where I love engaging and talking to people. And I think it's a good opportunity to be able to be sponsored by the Big Table while I still have the chance to create my own conversation. There is no predetermined idea of what you have to talk about, because sometimes we have things that are very important to us, and that is what we want to discuss, and we have the space to do that. And I would like to say that one of the focuses that we have this year is making sure that people understand that they can create their own conversation. Um, People tend to utilize the public domain and go to conversations, but I would love to see a lot more conversations hosted by people.
Why did you decide to host a Big Table conversation?
So the Big Table for us is really about civic engagement. How do you bring people from different walks of life together for a common good? And it's really the foundation of BESA. And so BESA being an organization that drives civic engagement, now the vehicle we do that is volunteerism, but at our core is civic engagement. And so the Big Table allows us to be BESA, but just in a different way. So we may not be actually serving a meal or putting furniture together, but it still allows us to bring folks together, to have conversations and to learn from one another. And so that's really a reason that we will always continue to host a Big Table at BESA.
Sara, can you share a little bit about BESA's Big Table last year? And do you have a favorite memory from that experience?
I do. Hi, everyone. I am from BESA. If you don't know what we do, we volunteer. That's what we do. We get people engaged in the community through volunteer programming. So last year for our Big Table, we played a game. It was called We're Not Really Strangers. And it's a game that has a series of cards. And as you go through the cards, it gets into deeper and deeper conversations. So just like Donte said, really, it was an opportunity for folks who wouldn't necessarily meet each other to get together, have meaningful conversation beyond just, here's my name, here's what I do, I have kids, whatever. It was really more led people into deeper conversations. And really that's how we learn about each other. And that's how we can expand our knowledge of what other people's lives are like, and then, find ways to support some of these things. One of my favorite things at the end of that big table, so that was my first time. I've been at BESA for about just over a year and a half. And that was my first time as a big table host. And one of my favorite things was that when it was over, people stayed. So they were having meaningful conversations, and they learned something about someone. And these are people that oh my gosh, I never knew that this was a challenge for your community or your population or that sort of thing. So it was super interesting to see people want to expand on those conversations. We gave them an opportunity to connect with each other, share emails, that sort of stuff, so they can continue those conversations outside of just that night.
Donte, ideally folks at the conversation are making new connections. How have you planned your tables to bring people together that don't know each other, or people with different perspectives or lived experiences?
So, just my personal life, I meet people. And usually when I meet someone that is real interesting, in the back of my head, I'm like, you're going to be at the big table conversation. You just don't know it yet. But I give myself time to really think about different individuals and what we could accomplish if we all came and sat with each other.
Do you have a favorite moment or memory from hosting a big table conversation?
All of them. So when we played the game last year, it was great to have the cards that kind of help you charge the conversation. And one of the cards was almost playing like Two Truths and a Lie, where you went around the room and you basically said you said two things that were true and one thing that wasn't. And what we found is that we are all so biased. And even though that's a negative thing, okay, we're biased, but what we found is that we don't talk about it. And so when folks went around the room and someone said, I have a degree in astrophysics, and everyone started laughing, and they're like, no, I have a degree in astrophysics. And it's like, wow, you just didn't think that was me because just of the way I look, because you don't know me. And so when we have the conversations, it's important for me not to just have the conversation, but then how do I take that back and implement it in the day-to-day work? And so what other opportunities can BESA now open up where we get to know people as we're volunteering? We get to tear down these walls of looking at a person and assuming the person is this thing. And so when I have those really strong nuggets that sometimes they sting a little bit, but they charge you to do something else, those are my favorite parts of the conversation.
We encourage folks to try to stay connected, introduce folks that have ideas to others who can maybe help with it. Some pretty fun things have come out of the big table. Avenue for All on the South Side came out of a big table conversation with Community Development for All People. Donte, you got your speaking gig at the Art Museum after a big table, right?
Yeah, that turned into a completely different event.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So networking, job opportunities. And there's another great story here. On the east side, there was a neighborhood conversation, and through that conversation, they brainstormed ways to make their neighborhood safer, and now a new stop sign exists in their neighborhood because of neighbors coming together and talking about safety. So there's a lot of great stories like that. There was some feedback in the Big Table survey last year that neighbors wanted more opportunities to spend time with each other. They wanted to have porch parties. So that actually informed one of the efforts at the Columbus Foundation this summer to try to encourage neighborliness and provide a kit to make that easier. So there's been a lot of fun ideas, and it's a challenge to keep the momentum going because usually people are pretty excited after their big table conversation, and we just ask that people get creative and try to carry those conversations forward.
My name's Margaret. I'm part of the communications and marketing team, and I just want to share a couple things to get you started and get excited about the Big Table in addition to this event, such as like promoting on your social media, as well as a few closing remarks. So first up, just some social media marketing tips. I heard a couple questions about how do we market our event, how do we get people interested? And so I want to start off with saying, like, create a buzz. Start talking about your conversation, talking with other individuals, but also posting on your social media. This could be as simple as a post talking about why you want to do the Big Table. Why do you want to have a conversation with people? Also engage your audience. A really great opportunity for that is to create Facebook events. I know we kind of had a brief mention of that. Facebook events are a great opportunity. You can also put ad spend behind them, and it's not incredibly expensive for the most part. We're also creating a Columbus Foundation Facebook event that you can then share your events into, that people may see as kind of a bulletin board, basically, of all the events that are happening in the community that is upcoming. So keep an eye. Hopefully you follow the Columbus Foundation and you'll see that pop up in your news feed. Also consider reaching out to people via direct message. If you're considering inviting individuals, a great way to find them is on their social media channels. Maybe there's somebody that you follow regularly and you're like, I really like what you say, please come to my table. If you direct message them, that's a great way to connect. Also, leverage relevant hashtags. Use our hashtag, the Big Table. People will use that to find information about tables happening in the community, and that will expand the audience for your Big Table. It's also collaborate. If you want to co-host, you're not comfortable hosting on your own, find local individuals, businesses, friends, family who maybe want to join with you, and you can combine your networks into a table around a topic, a couple different topics. It's totally up to you. Visuals. Use graphics, use videos, use images. People love to see other people's faces. Some good tools that are free are Canva. I know maybe some of you probably use that as nonprofits have limited bandwidth. They tend to find these tools, as I completely understand. Canva does have a free option that will give you lots of opportunities to use and create new and interesting graphics. And also consider cross-promoting. You've all met one another. Share one another's events and conversations and happenings, and really start a community around each other as hosts is a great opportunity to, again, span networks and reach new individuals. So I love a visual, so this is my on-theme visual. And basically, as many of you probably already know a lot of this is just the anatomy of what makes a really great social media post. A compelling caption. Again, this is something like, I want to have a conversation about this because this is why. This is why it affects me, why it's important to me. Engage with community. Nobody wants to show up to a party alone. So if somebody's commenting, they want to know that you're there. Donte is a great example of this. If you go to his social media channels, he comments, he responds, he interacts with people. You feel like he's in the room with you. Appealing visuals, again, the internet really loves to see faces, but you don't have to be a graphic designer to put out a great image. If it's something authentic, authenticity really matters. That's really the theme of the Big Table, to become with your authentic self. Whatever you post that's authentic to you will reach to people. And always, always, always include a call to action, a way for someone to take action, either join your table, whether that's sharing the Facebook event link, whether that's sharing an Eventbrite link, whether that's saying, hey, email me, DM me if you're interested, or I'll DM you if you comment. Something like that will give people an incentive, something they can do with the thing that you've asked them to do. So again, if you search hashtag the Big Table, you will find lots and lots. We've been doing this since 2016, so you'll find lots and lots of examples of Big Tables happening. It also has happened in other networks, other cities, so you can see kind of what they're doing. They call it something different, but you'll see. If you search hashtag the Big Table, you can search that on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram. Those would be great resources for you. So again, as we wrap up, make sure to, at the end of your tables, we'll have a survey link and ask individuals to fill that out so we can learn more from you about what you like, what you don't like, what individuals like about the Big Table, what you talked about, the themes you discussed. So please remember to fill out the survey at the end of your table. We invite you to scan this QR code. It'll take you straight to the Big Table website where you can learn more. You can sign up to be a host if you haven't already, or sign up for a public table as well. Totally up to you, but this will give you all the information you need. We really appreciate you taking the time to widen your circle and slow down. Help us listen, help us understand and connect with our community. Thank you so much again for your time this morning.